What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classical Octane. I am Taylor. I am alive. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've made a video, but been really busy with work and I was on vacation and all that kind of stuff. So we are back working on the KZ750 project today. I want to try and get a little bit more of this front end done. I have quite a few parts that came in, so we're going to pull the front wheel, the front forks off, so we can change out our headlight mounts, start to work on some wiring. We're just going to get as far in the front end as we possibly can, and we'll see how it goes. So we've had quite a few parts come in. I got battery. These are the headlight mounts I want to try out. They're made out of aluminum, so hopefully they'll be a little bit better than some of the kind of cheaper ones I've used before in the past. So we'll give those a shot. Got some new fork seals with dust boots, throttle, new master cylinder, grips, oil filter, some throttle cables. We got all kinds of new stuff. So like I said, I want to kind of get to work on the front end. I want to go ahead and pull the front wheel off, pull the forks out. The more I look at the fork seals, they actually look in really good shape, so I don't know that we're going to need to replace those. I may anyway. It's more so the dust boots that are torn. So we'll definitely replace those. We may just keep the fork seals on the shelf until one of these goes out. Then we can replace them. We'll see. I'll make up my mind later on that. And again, I want to try out the new mounts, start to wire up the new gauge. The more I kind of ordered some, and I don't know where they are, but I ordered some cheap switches to see if we wanted to change them out. And I'm just really not happy with the quality of those switches. I really haven't found a good solution for custom switches yet. So what I'm thinking about doing is actually taking this original switch apart and kind of restoring it. So it really is just a kind of faded paint. It's got a little bit of rust, but I want to try to take this apart, clean it all up, repaint it, and see if we can't just bring this stock switch back and keep it somewhat original, because it obviously works. It just is kind of ugly. Pull off this brake master cylinder and kind of go from there. So like I said, first things first, we're going to go ahead and pull off the wheel, then we can pull off the front forks and start to disassemble the front end. Got the forks pulled off, drama free. They were in pretty rough shape as far as oxidation goes, so I did decide to sand them and give them a coat of paint. This is the self-etching primer. I'm going to hit them with just a flat black. I could have taken a lot of time to polish them and make them look really nice and shiny, but that's not really the theme of this bike. The theme of this bike is going to be kind of, scrambler, off-road. The exhaust is going to be wrapped. We're not really going to have a lot of chrome on the bike, so I figured this would actually look better. I'm sure some of you guys will want to tell me otherwise, but I'm going to let that dry up a little bit, maybe hit it with a second coat of primer before I hit it with the paint. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and jump on something else. I think I'm going to look into this wiring. If you remember, this is the wiring for our new gauge that has the neutral light, high beam indicator and whatnot in it. And then I have this little connector that's going to plug in factory. So I'm going to see if I can't pull up a wiring diagram and see what it's going to look like to wire in this gauge so that it can plug into this factory connector super easy. So let's see how difficult that is going to be. So diving into this wiring, it's relatively simple, but I want to kind of touch on it just a little bit while I'm in here. Basically, I was just using the old instrument cluster to kind of figure out what wires go where. It's not just as simple as, okay, there's a common ground for every light, and then it's controlled by power, because the oil pressure and neutral light are actually ground-controlled circuits. So that when the bike's in neutral, it grounds out. When the oil pressure is low, that sensor grounds out, and that's what makes the light go on. So those two lights need to have a common power, which common power on this bike is a solid brown. And then the rest of the lights, the high beam indicator, turn signal indicator, and the actual back light for the speedometer itself, all can run a common ground. And then they're just power controlled circuits. Which means when you turn the high beam on, it powers the big headlight and also powers the small light, and so on. So hopefully that makes sense. One thing we are going to have to utilize is one of my diodes, and this basically just allows you to connect both turn signal circuits together to operate one turn indicator bulb. because on the factory instrument cluster there was individual lights, kind of little arrows on each side, so this, you know, it didn't need a diode. But for this one, since we only have one indicator light, we are going to need to utilize one of these. I do sell these on my website, classicoctane.com, just $5 a piece. If you're going to one of these universal speedometers and you want to convert to using only one indicator light, you'll need one of these. Also, if you're going to LED turn signals on classic bikes and you want to retain your factory indicator, like on a Honda or something like that, you'll need to utilize one of these as well. I do send a little wiring diagram with these as well to help it out. So basically what I'm going to do now is just start to kind of finalize a little bit more of this, get my little pins out, start to pin the female side of the connector. Then I'll probably have to temporarily hook back up some turn signals just so we can actually test the system, because right now a lot of these wires are just open in here, which means the indicators aren't going to work. So just so we can actually test it once we're done. Got the wiring all done. You can see the connector right there, all the indicator lights running right into it, and then my diode right here. So we can see, let me see if I can turn this key on with one hand. So I flip the key on, we have a neutral and oil pressure indicator, which is exactly what we'd expect to see. Go for a left turn signal. You can see it flashing over there. Our indicator light is flashing, but it's not transferring over to the right side, which is exactly what we want. Switch over to the right side. Still have an indicator. And they're all working. Turn them off, that goes off. I still need to kind of dive into and fix up this this switch system here, so I can't test the high beam indicator just yet. So let me go ahead and pull this off. We'll take it over to the bench and pull it apart, see if we can't fix it up a little bit. Quickly pulled apart the switch here. You can see what I'm talking about. There's just like corrosion in there, and a lot of the connectors are just kind of worn out and just kind of rusty. So I'm going to hit some of this on the wire wheel over there, a little Scotch-Brite pad, just to kind of clean some of the connections up. I might kind of hit this on there a little bit. Try to figure out a way to get in here and clean that out so that we can kind of start to put all of this back together without any of the rust, and kind of make sure everything's in good working order and we don't have any overly corroded connections that are making it not work. So it's relatively simple, so I'm just going to go ahead and try and knock it out, and I'll bring you guys back. Got all the little connections and everything cleaned up and wire brushed. Everything's looking good. Hitting the case with a little bit of black paint. While I wait for that to dry, I will go ahead and put these forks back on. They look pretty good. No complaints as far as the finish and everything. So pull the tape off, put my new dust boots on, and start to button this back up. Got the forks on with our new headlight mounts. Just kind of guessed the height. We'll kind of finalize it a little bit later. Also got the switch back together, so you can see it's a lot cleaner. Has nice crisp action now, so should be pretty good. But you can see obviously all of the lettering is all black now, so like I mentioned earlier, we'll have to paint those later, get them to pop a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook that back up. Then we can throw the front wheel on and kind of just get a little bit further. I did notice one thing. This does have the little locating dowel right in here, so you need a little hole in the handlebar for that to slide into. We'll do that at a later date once we kind of finalize our new master cylinder and kind of get the exact positioning we want. We'll punch a little hole through. So right now this will just kind of dangle, but that'll be fine for now. Now that we have the headlight switch fixed up, we can go ahead and test that as well. So flip on our headlight. Headlight is on. You can see our backlight turns on. Turn on our high beam. High beam indicator works. Cool. Still good. Turn signal still works. And then obviously the neutral and oil light we already checked. Turn these off. backlight turns off. Looks good to me. Front end's all back together. New dust boots look good. Black fork tubes look good. I just tried everything. It turns over. All the electronics and everything work exactly like they should. So we'll have to determine once we get the speedometer mounted and stuff exactly how high we want this. I'm still trying to determine where I want to mount my ignition switch. I'm still thinking maybe right here on the top of the headlight might be pretty easy. I don't know, we'll figure that out at another time. In the next video, I'm probably going to jump onto the frame hoop, which has already made a lot of you guys mad, but we're still going to do it because I think the stock tail on this thing is just 270s, late 70s, early 80s when it started to get really angular, and I'm just not crazy about it. And I already have a frame hoop, so we're doing it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. Okay. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I appreciate you sticking in there and being a little bit patient while I try to get out here and make some more videos. I do have a little bit more travel coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I'm gonna try my best to be as consistent as possible and get as much content out as we possibly can. I have the fuel injection totally done on the Camaro. I put a couple 100 miles on it. I will make the second video of like first startup and now that I can actually drive the car, some impressions on the EFI system and that kind of stuff for those of you who have been waiting very, very patiently for more Camaro content. I appreciate everybody that's ordered shirts and stickers and the little diodes and everything. I've had a lot of orders recently, and that really does help support the builds. So I hope to see you guys really soon.